Hello, I'm Tracy Friend from Liberating the Heart. In this video, I'm going to talk about what are miracles. So, in the more Western view of the brain and matter, it's often considered that the brain is primary and that consciousness arises within the brain. In the Eastern view, it's considered that consciousness is primary and consciousness solidifies into matter. So we could say in the Eastern view that the brain and all physical matter, not just the brain, arises out of consciousness. So often when things are described as miraculous, it's because there isn't a logical or an easy physical explanation for how something occurred. Or it could be that there could be a physical explanation of why something occurred, but it's highly unlikely and it seems very synchronistic. When we think about this idea that's the Eastern view, that consciousness is primary and that solidifies into matter, then we can start to understand that what seems so concrete in our experience is actually fluid because consciousness comes first. When we start transforming our consciousness, then the matter or the physical conditions of our life experience can also transform. And that maybe gives us an idea about why we don't necessarily see that many miracles, because maybe a lot of people don't know how to shift their consciousness in a chronic way, which is what is necessary for miracles to occur. Or if they do know, maybe they're not doing it. But when we have different regular spiritual practices that we're using, such as the law of attraction or different meditation techniques, where we're shaping our consciousness, where we're getting rid of more and more resistance, so we're coming into greater connection with who we really are. We can start to live more and more in that realm of possibility, where we start to go beyond the physical laws. So many stories in the ancient past with yogis experiencing these different miracles, where people maybe experience their teacher coming to them on the astral realm, or people in dreams, had visitations from great beings. And these sort of experiences aren't just in the past. People that I've worked with spiritually coaching over the last 20 years, so many different experiences that they've had that seemed miraculous, where people may be in quite a difficult situation, they didn't know how to proceed. So they did the inner work of transforming their mind, and then solutions appeared. So often, what are called miracles are just demonstrations of the fact that we're all connected. At the physical level, there's obviously different bodies, but at the absolute level of the mind, we're all connected. We're all connected to source or the higher power, however we want to think about it. And really, to experience that connection, we need to come into connection with who we really are. As we come into greater connection with who we really are, we're more spiritually powerful. And then we can start seeing more of that connection to other people in our lives. And when we're thinking about miracles, as we're engaging in regular spiritual practice, coming into greater connection with who we really are, we could almost say it's like the veil between our current physical experience and who we really are. It becomes thinner. And as it becomes thinner, it allows more and more of communication from our true self, from source to come through. So one miracle that I experienced last year, up in the morning one day, and the name Chen Rezig was in my head, and also completion stage practices. And I thought, that's strange. I don't know what that means. You know, I've studied many different spiritual traditions over the years, but it was something that wasn't in my conscious awareness that I knew what it meant. I Googled it and I found out Chen Rezig is the name for the Tibetan deity of compassion with the mantra Om Mani Padme Hum. And interestingly, the completion stage practices are also talked about in Tibetan Buddhism. So I found that very miraculous. And then when I received that message with Chen Rezig and the completion stage practices, I felt that it was coming to me to signal the next phase of my journey, and also to show me that I was being supported by source energy in that moment. What's interesting was I've done a lot of meditation from the Theravada Buddhist, the insight meditation, Vipassana tradition, realizing there isn't a separate self, seeing through the sense of there being a separate I. And that created a lot of space in my mind in terms of things would still arise, but there's an experience of them arising in this huge spaciousness. But I felt like a lot of emotions still hadn't been purified. There was more space around the emotions, but a lot of the emotions remained untouched. And then, after looking more into the Tibetan Buddhist practices, after receiving that message about the completion stage practices, a lot's being said about energetic practices, which is more working at the emotional and energetic level. So it really felt like a gift to me. It felt like that communication came through to guide me on the next phase of my journey. Another miracle I share was after a meditation retreat, a 10-day meditation retreat that I did in Penang in Malaysia. And I came off of the retreat and I just felt very open, very in the present moment, a real sense of expansiveness. And I was trying to find my way to the hotel. I had a map that I was looking at, trying to figure out what direction I needed to go. And then a random person came up to me and they said, "Oh, can I help you?" And they looked at the map, they looked at the address of my hotel, and they pointed me in the right direction. And then the next day, I was going to the airport, ready to fly home. I was in a different part of the city, and the same person appeared. And again, they helped me. Again, it was just a 2-minute interaction. They helped me and they showed me which way that I needed to go. And that would be very hard, I feel, to explain logically how that happened. But it felt like I'd done the work, I'd opened myself up, and the universe was assisting me. And what I've seen over the last 20 years or so in my work is that as people come into greater connection with who they are, in those peak moments where they're feeling better, they're in a higher frequency, there's almost an experience of the universe bending over backwards to assist them moment by moment. And it can start to feel very magical, very miraculous. And so that's why I wanted to share this video, that it is beautiful that there is this sense of the miraculous, but also to explain what's really going on. That we've chronically shifted our thoughts, we've chronically come into greater connection with who we are. And then we're living more in the realm of the miraculous. And I've seen many people that when they're doing this work to spiritually connect more and more, the seemingly miraculous can become a day-to-day occurrence. So I hope this video is helpful. If you want to see more videos from Liberating the Heart, you can subscribe to the channel, and thank you for watching.